Hello and welcome to week 27 of the Country Garden Crochet Along, and this week we're making the Boblet stitch. So these boblets are made in little splashes of colour to look like little flowers dotted across a lawn. So how do we make it?
Okay, so for this stitch we're going to be starting above the diamond panel. So we're not going to join into the corners on the very edge. We're going to join above the diamond panel, ignoring the top of the square. So we're going to join into the stitch after this last one, where we're going to the corner, and you want the single crochet that you made into the corner of the diamond, which is this one there. So I'm putting a stitch marker in because we need to turn. Okay, so that's the first stitch. So that's going to be the last stitch of our row once we turn. Stitch markers just help to see where the stitches are from up front. And the stitch we're going to start in, so there's the last stitch of my square there, and here is the first stitch of my diamond panel. So that's going to be the starting stitch. So I'm going to turn that, because now I've got my start and end stitches planned out. It just makes things a little bit easier as we go. Okay, so now we're on the back. So there's my first stitch, and I'm going to join in my medium green and chain one. And in that same stitch I'm going to make a double crochet turning chain. Okay, and then all I'm going to do for row one is double crochet in every stitch across until we get to that stitch I marked out a minute ago at the end, which is the last stitch of your diamond panel. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish row one with all the double crochet, and I shall come back in row two where we start our boblets. Okay, so we've got to the end of that row, and my last stitch is going to be made in that stitch we marked, which is the single crochet at the edge of the diamond panel. Okay, so then we turn, so we're back onto the front. Okay, so you turn and chain one and make a single crochet in that first stitch. Bring my stitch marker up. Okay, so in the next stitch we're going to change colour. So we start a single crochet, leave the last two loops on your hook, and bring in the colour you want to use for your boblet, and pull through the last two loops. In the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. It's got two loops on your hook. I'm just going to pull everything tight here so I've got everything in place. Where's the other one? Okay, so now we make the boblet. Yarn over, pull through the first loop only. Yarn over, pull through the first loop only again, again, and again. So it looks like you've got a chain and one loop on your hook. So now, because we're only doing the little boblets in a different colour, I'm going to drop the blue, pick the green back up, and pull through both loops. Just pull those ends tight. Okay, I'm going to drop the blue completely. I'm not carrying that on. If you want to do all your boblets in the same colour across this row, then you need to carry this blue across. I'm not doing that. I'm going to carry them diagonally, but I'll show you what I'm doing that in a minute, and you can decide what you want to do, because this way isn't going to suit everyone. Okay, so when you made your boblet and you changed colour in the last two loops back to your green, in the next stitch just make a normal single crochet, and it scrunches up that boblet, and you see how it puckers up. So it's like a mini bobble. Okay, we've got the first single crochet there, and then we're going to make another 6 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, oops, 5, and this is number 6. I will leave the last 2 that's on my hook, and I'm going to bring in my next colour, and I'm going to make another boblet. So pull my next colour through the last 2 loops, let go, in the next stitch, and pull through, leave 2 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through the first loop only, yarn over, first loop only again, and again, and again. So you've got 4 chains on your hook. I'll pull that one tight, drop that colour, pick up my green again, pull through those 2 loops, and then a single crochet in the next stitch. I've got a nice bubble coming up. If you want your bubbles to be bigger and more chunky, then you add more chains. If you want them to lie flatter, then make fewer chains. But I've chosen to make 4 chains for these ones. And they just sit like that. Okay, so you can see I'm not cutting off. So I'm going to show you what this is going to look like so you can decide what to do with your bubbles and your colours. Okay, so here's my original blanket. I think this is the first time I brought this onto camera. And you can see I've got diagonals going up for my bubbles. So I've changed colour for every single bubble in every row. But because I don't like lots and lots of ends, what I did was I carried colours up by row. Now this does mean that you end up with, oh, how many colours did I use for this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. I use 9 different colours for my bubbles, my boblets, which means you've got an awful lot of working yarns on the go at once. So I had 10 balls of yarn, and I had to put them into a bag and turn everything over at the same time, which, not surprisingly, can get a bit fiddly, especially if you're using big balls of yarn. So that's why I wanted to show you this and what I did, so that you can decide how you want to do your colours. It would be easier to each row in the same colour, so then you change every row, so you just cut off at the end, and then you can just carry the thread along. Or if you want this diagonal look but don't want to have so many working threads to keep track of at one time, you can cut off, but it does mean you have a lot of ends to weave at the end. So that decision is yours, and how you want to go about it. Okay, so now I've shown you that, so you can decide what to do with your colours. So if you decided to carry your colours, you would just carry your thread along and, ooh, no more, and just work your single crochet over the top. Okay, just like that, as we've done with the other panels, and it'll just hide it on the back. So it's entirely up to you how you do that. I'm going to be carrying on with lots of different colours in the same row. I'm going to be completing my blanket the same as before. Okay, so in between each boblet you have 7 single crochet. Okay, and you change colour in the last 2 loops. So it's boblet, then 7 single crochet, boblet, 7 single crochet, all the way until you get to the end. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and complete this row, and I shall come back to you in a minute with all my tangles of threads. Okay, so after my last boblet, I've made a single crochet in the last 6 stitches. Okay, and as you can see, I've got a real tangle of yarns going on because of how many balls I've got attached. Okay, So now we turn. Just give me a second. Right. Okay, so row 3. We turn, chain 1, and make a double crochet turning chain in the first stitch. And then this row is just a row of double crochet. So we're going to double crochet in every stitch across. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this row, and I shall be back in a moment, show you where the next row of bubbles are placed. Okay, so I've got to the end of the row and I've got all my double crochet. And what I forgot to mention earlier was that you want to make sure that all your threads are on the back. Okay, so there's the back, this tangle of threads, which is why doing it this way is not going to be for everyone. But on the front we've got our bobblets. Okay, so at the end of the row we need to turn. I need to do this carefully with all these threads everywhere. Hang on. Mayhem, but the effect, I like the effect it makes, so I'm willing to put up with this. It's not for too many rows. Okay, so row, where are we up to? 1, 2, 3. So row 4, we're back to making bobblets, but we want to make them slightly offset, so we want them kind of in the middle, so we get this diagonal look going on. Okay, so the next row, we turn and chain 1, and then single crochet in the first stitch. Just put my stitch marker in, and then I'm going to single crochet in the next 5 stitches as well. Okay, so including that first one, we'll have 6 stitches to start this row. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, but the 6th one I'm going to leave the last 2 loops on my hook. Now I'm going to be pulling up this blue here, and I'm pulling it up to make my next boblet. Let's pull through those 2 loops, pull that tight, and in the next stitch I'm going to make a boblet. 1, 2, 3, 4 chains, and drop that and bring the green back up and pull that through the last 2 loops. Oops, one blue off. There we go. And then single crochet in the next stitch, and then single crochet in the next 6 stitches after that. So it's the exact same pattern, it's just that the row of stitches we start with is different, and then we end up with the bobblets in between, and then we can get that diagonal look. And it's just repeating the same pattern. So for the next boblet I'll carry this yellow over. If I move that, and you see I've got that thread at the back. So that's how it's going to carry if you do it this way. Okay, so like row 2, you have 7 single crochet between your bobblets. So you single crochet after your boblet, then make another 6 single crochet after that, 7 in total between each one, with the boblet in the middle. So the whole pattern is a repeat of rows 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so rows 1 to 4 is the repeat. So after row 4 you'll have a row double crochet for row 5, and row 6 is a repeat of row 2. So we have another boblet here. but because we're going diagonally, I'm going to add the last colour from row 2 at the start of 3, 4, 5, row 6. But I'll come back and show you how that works out. So I'm going to go finish this panel, so repeats of rows 1 to 4. Okay, so looking at your starting colours, for the first 2 rows you're starting with the first colour in the colour list, that's in the description of the video. The next one is lilac. Now this, let's just bring the other end in, you finished those first 2 boblet rows with. When it drops off the end here, you start it in the next row. Same with the purple in row 11, I think that is. Yeah, well, whichever, the last boblet row. See if I get my numbers wrong. See, it drops off in the row before, and then you start the next row of boblets in it. So that's how I kept my diagonals with the colours going. We get these lovely set of diagonals. Everything is carried on the back, as you can see, and there was a mighty tangle of yarns, as you saw before, but it's entirely up to you how you do your colours for this one. So that's how we start and end with the dropping off the colours. I finished row 12, and row 12 is a row of double crochet. So I've got 5 rows of bobbles, and you can see I've gone with the diagonal lines, which has left me with these carried threads on the back. So I won't lie, I was left with a hell of a tangle of yarns, but I really love this look. So you decide whether you want to go ahead with dealing with the tangled yarns or not. Okay, so to do a quick recap. Row 1 was a row of double crochet. So all your odd numbered rows are double crochet apart from row 12. All your even rows are boblets. Okay, apart from that last row, of course. So what we should end up with is 12 rows, 5 of them single crochet rows with the boblets, and 7 of them double crochet rows. So once you've finished up, you can weave in all your ends, and that is this week complete. And the panel complete as well. So we have one panel left to do before we start on our corner squares, and we shall do that next week. So bye for now.